Something is happening in the state of Oregon. Something that hasn't happened since Donald Trump entered national politics, and in fact, it hasn't happened a single time in the state since the turn of the millennium. But Republicans are now outpacing Democrats in terms of voter turnout by 4.6 percentage points. Now, this article rounded up to 5%, but to be more specific, in Oregon, 46% of Republicans have already voted, compared to 41.4% of Democrats and 37% of independents. Now, to get even more granular, in this blue box, you will see that there are 1 million registered Democrats in the state. So, with a 41.4% turnout rate, that means that 420,000 Democrat ballots have already been cast. In the red box, you'll see there are 742,000 registered Republicans. So, with a 46% turnout rate, that means 341,000 Republican ballots have been cast. Now, based on all the publicly available data, we can expect that 9 in 10 voters in each party will vote for their candidate. So that means that 9 out of 10 Democrats are likely to vote for Kamala Harris, 9 out of 10 Republicans are likely to vote for Donald Trump, and the remaining 10% will cross over or vote third party. And on top of all of this, strategists on both sides, data experts on both sides, still expect Republicans to swamp Election Day turnout despite all of the Republicans who have already cast a ballot. And the reason they believe this is because the Trump campaign believes that they've successfully identified low propensity and first-time voters and have successfully gotten them to the polls, have successfully gotten them to cast early ballots. And so the Trump campaign is still expecting their highest propensity, most loyal voters to come out on Election Day. Now, why do I talk about Oregon? Oregon has not been talked about as being in play this cycle. Well, if Oregon is a reliably blue state and Republicans are overperforming here, does that not suggest something about the temperature nationwide? If Republicans are overperforming in a state like Oregon, I mean, how do you think they're turning out in Florida, Ohio? What about swing states like Arizona, Nevada, North Carolina, where we've already seen promising numbers? You know, in Oregon specifically, there has been a 34% turnout rate so far, 1 million Oregon ballots cast. But this turnout is actually really low. So the Wednesday before Election Day, so far in 2024, only 34% of Oregonians have voted. This is predictably behind 2020 numbers. Of course, there was the pandemic, but it's also behind 2016. So all of this in context, what does this mean? This means Republicans are energized despite what the polls say, because if you're to believe the polls, Democrats are more energized than Republicans. But if we're taking a look at early voter turnout, and if we're taking a look at what we expect to happen on Election Day, I mean, Republicans are outperforming the poll numbers so far. I mean, we can't take anything for granted. Get out there and vote. Act as if your vote could be the deciding vote in your state. But, you know, if we're taking a look at this, this is very promising. Another source, it's been confirmed more than half of Oregon Republicans have turned in their ballots. But it's not just the turnout so far. It's also the county by county breakdown. So Clackamas County is one of the bluest counties in the state, and turnout there so far is only 26.1%. But in the rural counties where Trump does his best, Curry, Wheeler, etc., the turnout so far is over 50%. So Republicans are just smashing this. In small towns, people are flocking to the polls, but in highly densely populated areas in the big cities, turnout is down. And again, I think my point here is that if Republicans are overperforming the polls so far, if they are overperforming in terms of turnout, if they're overperforming in a deep blue, reliably blue state, I really think that says something about the temperature. I really think that says something about the electorate that we could see this upcoming Tuesday. Now, in 2016, Hillary Clinton won by about 10 percentage points. In 2020, Joe Biden won by about 16%. You know, if these trends hold up, Trump, you know, so both times Trump lost by double digits. He is on pace to only lose Oregon by single digits this time, potentially less than 7, potentially less than 5. And again, if this is happening in reliably blue Oregon, what does that say about the rest of the country? Well, we have more data coming out of Nevada. So the 14th and final day of Nevada's early voting has concluded. And with that being said, 75% of the vote has already been cast. Republicans have a huge lead. Okay, so Republicans are leading by 49,000 votes. Republicans' total ballots cast 393,000 compared to Democrats' 344,000. Again, what we can expect is 9 in 10 out of each party is going to vote for their preferred candidate. So, what does that mean in Nevada? That means that Democrats have to win 62.4% of Election Day vote itself to catch up and to win. 62.4%. Now, is it possible? It is, of course. Anything can happen. But who would you rather be right now? Would you rather be the Republicans with a 49,000 vote lead, leading by 4.8% of the current amount of ballots cast? Or would you rather be the Democrats who have to win 62.4% of the remaining vote? Again, it's possible, but that's a high hurdle to overcome on election day. Things are looking just as bad, just as rough in Arizona. Republicans now have a 180,000 ballot advantage. Based on this current trajectory, they're expecting Republicans to end up with a 200,000 ballot lead. And even though Republicans have made an effort, so GOTV, get out the vote early, many registered Republicans are still waiting, as I referenced earlier, to vote on election day. This is really promising. Again, take nothing for granted. Don't just vote. Bring a friend to the polls. Bring your family. Bring your coworkers to the polls. Make sure that you get out there. But I mean, based on the numbers we're seeing so far, Kari Lake's campaign in Arizona has well, they've gotten really confident, and they're thinking, based on the current numbers, they don't want to get too confident or too cocky, but they're saying we could be looking at a +9 GOP electorate in Arizona when all is said and done. And, if those Oregon numbers are true, and again, I really believe that it's telling us a lot about the temperature nationwide. So I don't want to get my hopes up, but here is what the Lake campaign is saying.
It sure is. In fact, I think there's been over 2 million ballots cast, and Republicans have just taken 163,000 ballot lead in Arizona in early voting. And that's pretty astronomical. Let me tell you, those are very, very strong numbers. In fact, a Dem consultant, and I also saw Decision Desk HQ, said that you're entering into what is potentially an R+9, R+10 environment. And so that is just because Republicans are turning out in droves right now because they are so sick of the horrible policies of this administration. But I know you've talked a lot about what these outside groups have done. But Steve, don't forget what you have done. You really started all of this when you had the precinct captains and others take over these state and local GOP groups and county, Republican GOP groups at the state level, all the way down to your local GOP county levels are activated like I've never seen them in my entire life. They are motivated. Yep. And that was all the War Room Posse and the work that y'all have laid for the past 4 years. And I really think that is a massive part. And it doesn't have to do with any sort of funding. It is just highly motivated people that took over these county parties, and they are doing just unbelievable work here in Arizona.
Now, I think, this caught me off guard. I'm not going to lie. Like, I really was caught off guard, not just by the Arizona and Nevada numbers, but also by what we're seeing out of Oregon. But I think that's because the polls have actually been inaccurate. I will talk about that in a second. Nate Silver published this really interesting article, and then he talked about it actually on his podcast. So Nate Silver thinks that the pollsters have actually been lying and putting their thumb on the scale. Now, I'll get to that in a second, but I do want to show you what Mark Halperin is reporting, because again, he is very well sourced, and he's saying that this may actually not come down to Pennsylvania like many people have predicted, but this could actually come out to Wisconsin. And Kamala Harris, well, she is in bad shape in Wisconsin.
Okay. First of all, revelation for me today regarding the battleground states. It remains the base case that Vice President Harris is unlikely to win, according to my sources in both parties. Not sure thing, but unlikely to win Georgia, North Carolina, Arizona. If she doesn't win those 3 states, she must sweep Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin. As forecast here a long time ago, it appears that she's basically back to where Joe Biden was on the eve of the debate. 1 electoral college path to exactly 270 electoral votes. So our intense focus for the rest of the way will be to continue to monitor to see whether she can actually win North Carolina, Georgia, or Arizona. Does not appear to my sources now that she will. Can she win the 3 Great Lakes states? And the focus has been on Pennsylvania. Here on this platform, we did a 2-hour show called It's All About Pennsylvania. And what I'm here to tell you tonight, based on my reporting with Democrats and Republicans nationally and in both those states, that it could be that Kamala Harris wins Pennsylvania but loses the White House because she loses Wisconsin. Michigan remains a bit of a puzzle. Both Kamala Harris and Donald Trump are doing dueling rallies near each other in Wisconsin tonight. Fitting, as far as I'm concerned, for my reporting, because as I said, my reporting is that she's in trouble in Wisconsin. This is based on 3 sources, 2 Republicans, 1 Democrat, all of whom know the state quite well, and all of whom told me today the same version of they would be somewhere between surprised and shocked if Kamala Harris won Wisconsin. Okay? Doesn't mean she's not going to. All I'm telling you is to reorient yourself away from news framing that says it's all about Pennsylvania. The winner of Pennsylvania will win this election. That's become kind of a mantra. The winner of Pennsylvania will win. I'm here to tell you, she may well win Pennsylvania and win the election, but she could win the Pennsylvania and lose the election because she doesn't win Wisconsin. Watch Wisconsin. Washington Post poll today of Pennsylvania, 48-47 Harris within the margin of error.
Now, what's interesting here is a lot of the polls, suggest tight races, a 1-point race in these battleground states like Arizona. All the polls are either 1 point or 2 points, one way or the other. But what Nate Silver is actually saying is he doesn't believe these polls are accurate. He believes that the polls are doing what's known as herding. They sort of herd together, sort of like sheep. They stay in a flock. And the idea here is that no pollster wants to put their head out there. They don't want to be the one who's wrong in either direction. So, someone may come up with a poll that says Donald Trump +8, Donald Trump +9. But if all the other polls are saying +1, +2, they don't want to be the outlier. They don't want to be seen as being wrong, being inaccurate, trying to put their thumb on the scale. So what these pollsters do is they look at all the other poll results and they're like, our results don't match. So they will weight their sample differently. They will put different influences on different demographic groups to try to shape the result to look like what everyone else is doing. And so this is called herding. And so the reason I wanted to point that up is Nate Silver thinks there is a case of herding going on right now. And he thinks, first of all, he thinks Trump is going to win. He gives Trump the higher probability. But on top of all of that, similar to what CNN was saying, he says there's a bigger likelihood of a blowout one way or the other than there is a squeaker. And so I think if we're seeing what we're seeing out of Oregon, if we're seeing what we're seeing in the early vote turnout, and if Nate Silver is right as far as pollsters herding and actually trying to put their thumb on the scale, Tuesday, I don't know. We could, I think hopefully we'll know early. Hopefully we won't have to wait days. But it could be a blowout one way or another. But as always, all of this is just my analysis, just my commentary. That's what's going on in the world of politics from my point of view. And I would love to hear from you. What do you think about these Oregon numbers? Are you excited by them? Do you think it's not a big deal? Do you think it's just, Republicans are voting early, so they're not going to vote on election day, which, I don't think the data shows that. Of course, we don't know. We won't know for sure until election day. But what's your take on this Oregon situation? As I said, personally, I think it is a promising sign of the temperature of the electorate nationwide. If a reliably blue state is turning out this way, what does that say about our swing states? What does that say about reliably red states? Does that mean that Atlas Intel is right and that Trump could actually win the popular vote nationwide, on top of the Electoral College, of course? Just a lot of different possibilities, a lot to unpack here, and I would love to hear your take on everything. If you haven't already, please be sure to give me a thumbs up. I know it's a simple thing to ask, but it really does help me in the algorithm to reach more viewers like you. Be sure to smash that subscribe button and to check out one of these videos.